How's it going, y'all? Rafa, the Pickleball Tech Dude here. Wanted to hop in really quickly just to sort of overview what you guys are going to see today. Typically on Sunday and Monday, you'll see a longer video from me, just something for you to watch in your spare time, and it'll typically be a podcast episode. But today, you're going to be seeing the interview I conducted in Vegas during the YOLA event with YOLA product manager Austin Kim. Now, I often refer to Austin as the mind behind the Pro 4 paddles, but many people in the organization, including Austin himself, something I do want to clarify is that a major contributor to the Pro 4 paddles was Fabio in the YOLA organization. So huge shout out to Fabio, first and foremost, and it's an open invite. Hit my DMs up, Fabio. Want to get you on the channel at some time really soon here. And some of you might also be wondering, with the timing of all of this, why release this interview now? Well, to be honest, the turnaround from getting the Pro 4 paddles to their actual release was extremely quick. So I really wanted to focus in the past couple of weeks on just getting out the info and also anything I had learned about the playability of the paddles. This interview is very informational. I do dive into several topics with Austin, including YOLA's response to their criticism, how they work with USAP and UPA, how they respond to the Gen 3 drama, and anything they've addressed in their QC process here for the Pro 4 paddles. But overall, I do like for my interview style to be a little bit more conversational and free-flowing, as it really helps bring the walls down and really get to the root of any questions that I have. And overall, this took a direction I didn't expect. It's one of the more fun interviews that I've ever conducted here. And so if there's anything that I want you all to take away from the video, it's two things. First and foremost, how does a organization in pickleball respond to not only harsh criticism, but also multiple delistings that are very impactful to the business? And secondly, it's a peek inside the mind of one of the most important people in what is becoming a global pickleball paddle empire. So with that, kick back and enjoy the rest of the video. That was unnecessary.
Yeah. All right.
All right, everyone. Well, here we are with Austin Kim, working the brain behind the new YOLA Pro 4. Austin, how are you doing?
Great. No, it's fantastic. Great to see you again, Rafa. It was nice meeting you back in January, right? At
Yeah,
the USAP
tail end of
Industry Day.
January. Yeah.
That was fun. Driving 2 hours back to our office from the middle of nowhere, so it's been good. So
Yeah. No, that was a great experience. That was really awesome. I was really happy to meet all of you guys, kind of see you guys in your actual element. But yeah, so you joined YOLA in 2023, right?
Yeah, so actually I originally was working in YOLA back in 2017 to 2020.
Okay.
Quit to do like technical consulting, and then I did YouTube for a little bit, and then back to YOLA once pickleball started growing again. So.
Yeah, that's when they finally took off. You were like, I'm back in.
Yeah,
Let's
I'm
do
back
it.
in. Yeah, of course. And then I take all the credit because everyone says like I'm the brains of the paddles. Honestly, no. Big shout out to Fabio. Hopefully you'll meet him one day. He's so smart. Like every single time, like he's the genius behind all of YOLA paddles and everything. So
That's awesome. Yeah, no, for sure, I have to meet him. No, yeah, so this is exactly where I was going. So or rather, I guess post and pre-YOLA, you started a YouTube channel. You were in esports. You amassed over 200K on YouTube.
Yes.
So what is that decision like coming back after gaining so much success in that regard?
Honestly, playing video games, I've always played video games my entire life, right? Like playing StarCraft when I was like 5 years old, played a ton of CS, and then, playing League, of course, climbing in, what other games? Like Overwatch, trying to go pro essentially. And I thought living the dream of playing video games every day would be great. But in reality, I could feel myself getting dumber.
Really?
Not even joking. It's like my brain function just felt slower because all I would do is just wake up, 10, 11, play video games, record content, edit, go to sleep by like 2 in the morning and rinse and repeat. And I was like, I mean, this is right during COVID, so I was like, yeah, I can't do anything, but just like my cognitive ability started feeling slower. I was like, I didn't like where I was going in that. And of course, like with views, it's like, you know, YouTube is not always stable. So I did venture out and was like helping other YouTubers like with editing their videos as well. I mean, I'm doing that for Josh now, which you met.
Yeah.
Great dude.
Yeah. Shout out to Josh.
Shout out to Josh. But yeah, no, but it's been fun. It's been great, you know, and taking what I've learned from YouTube and working with others, and also applying it to here, right? Like talking with Brian about the brand and the experience, like being able to connect with him on the marketing aspect, because like I understand kind of how it works. It's awesome.
Yeah. No, absolutely. So that's interesting. So you just felt like you were more cognitively stimulated by doing something like this.
Yeah, no, it's 100%. I haven't been playing too many video games. I've actually been playing Marvel Rivals recently a lot.
Ooh, good game.
I've been climbing pretty fast.
Yeah, who's your main?
On my main, I always fill. I
Yeah.
always fill. So I mean, I'm pretty good at FPS games. But yeah, no, it's been fun. Don't have as much time, but I've been a little bit more active and trying to play more pickleball for sure.
Yeah, definitely a little bit busier out here. So I'm curious. I also saw you started a brand. You co-founded a brand. I saw you guys make products for gamers, like gaming chairs, stuff like that. Was that sort of the start of your interest in working with products, start to finish?
No. So, you know, I graduated from University of Maryland with a Bachelor of Science in Astronomy and Physics. I did like a couple of things like camp counselor, and then I did a research position at NASA for about a year. It was like gamma ray and X-ray astronomy. Realized I needed to go back to school to, you know, get a little bit better paying job.
Yeah.
Especially in like STEM and all that industry. So I was like, I don't really want to do that. I suck at school. And so I decided to move and look towards business. And so actually, you know, it was very great coming to YOLA as an intern, where I learned about different facets of the business, from the marketing to sales to supply chain management. Nothing really in the product side. And eventually, you know, I was offered a job after graduating at YOLA to do product, and I was like, sure. I mean, this is different. Like, I didn't want to do supply chain. Shipping stuff is such a pain in the butt.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, and then the product side, you know, it's mainly like table tennis products that we were doing. I never played table tennis. I was just like a basement warrior that's like good at it. But now, and then, you know, product has been so interesting, and you know, it's a good and bad thing, because it's like I know how much stuff actually costs, and so like when I'm at the store, I'm like, am I really paying like $100 for this? Like, I know like how much it costs.
Yeah.
But like even the whole process and like meeting everyone that like in the industry and like outside of the industry has been such an eye-opening experience that it makes me continually like want to cultivate myself and like gain more knowledge, because there's so much out there in the world.
Yeah, for sure. And I mean, you're pretty early on in your career anyways here, but yeah, no, that makes a ton of sense. So, wow, that is such a circuitous route from physics, astrophysics, into gaming, into pickleball. What specifically about, like, or was there anything like specifically about pickleball that kind of spoke to you, or was it like just the experience of learning YOLA as a business that intrigued you more?
I think honestly the leadership that Richard Lee has, you know, he's become a friend of mine, a very close friend. I also see him as a mentor. He's really smart. He's been able to grow the business dramatically and drastically, you know, with his vision, his hard work, his efforts. You know, he's down on the front line assembling things himself. So that kind of also inspired me. Like, that's kind of like a model that I want to like envision for myself, being able to be knowledgeable and do all those things. And so, yeah, I mean, again, coming back from gaming to YOLA, I come from tennis, and I thought pickleball is the dumbest sport. Like, I heard pickleball, I was like, what is pickleball? And then, you know, I was at a Christmas party, and someone was asking me, like, you know, I got him an internship at YOLA before, and he was like, hey, have you heard about, like, Ben Johns? Like, he graduated from our same college, and, like, he's, like, the #1 pickleball player. He got signed by YOLA. I was like, who's this guy with 2 first names? Like, what are you talking about? And I was like, Sure. And then, and then all of a sudden, how our phones are listening in on us.
Yeah.
Started getting like the algorithm, TikTok, Instagram, pickleball, pickleball, pickleball. And so I was like, this could be very interesting. And so I reached out to Richard, he's been, very grateful. He offered me a position back at YOLA, and, we've been going strong ever since then. Had our hiccups, of course, Gen 3 and stuff, but no,
Yeah.
it's been fun. It's been great. It's been eye-opening, and for me, understanding like business and understanding like people, right? Like you're always trying to entertain people. You're trying to do the best that you can.
Yeah.
And like I think YOLA is an extension of myself at this point, and that's why I always want to do the best that I can do.
Okay. And do you think that the type of leadership that Richard has inspires that same like attitude in all of the employees at YOLA?
Yeah, no, it's the thing is, it's like, for me, it's like, I'm not the smartest person in the room ever. Like, to be honest, like working at YOLA, like it's always a new day, new challenges, and just the way that Richard works, and the way that our leadership works, it's very, very special. And, like as Gordon said, it's kind of like a family.
Yeah.
And so while, yes, like we have, of course, like things that we disagree upon, but we can always work together because we're so passionate about the sport. Driving down from Mesa to here to Vegas, it's like a 4-hour drive.
Yeah.
My girlfriend was in the car with us, and it was like me, Brian, and Kevin. And then literally like after we're like eating dinner, she's like, how do you guys talk about pickleball for 4 hours straight in a car ride? And then you're talking about pickleball at dinner. And then after dinner, when we're having drinks, you're still talking about pickleball. It's like 18 hours of pickleball. Like, how do you guys do that? And I was like, and like, it's like we just love the sport. Like,
Yeah.
we love what it has done, the community, and the fun aspect that pickleball brings.
Yeah, for sure. And I think that's probably a misconception that I personally had, and one that I think a lot of people do have, is that YOLA's gained so much market share that we assume that everything is very corporate and you guys are like this like massive like global body. I mean, YOLA is like a name that everybody recognizes on the corners of table tennis tables. But what I think,
I like how you said tables, not table tennis. Fair point.
I always see it right there on the corner of the table every single time. But it's interesting that you guys are actually just a lot smaller, a lot more closer knit. And from what I understand, like pickleball is taking off for you guys in a way that table tennis hasn't in recent years.
Yeah, so the thing is that with table tennis is such an established sport, right? And so there are a lot of rules and regulations, and it is a little bit, it's very difficult actually, right? Like when I came, I thought I was good at table tennis because like I would beat my friends, coming from a racket background experience, and then I have like one of the employees, like Steven, he's not even breaking a sweat, and he's making me run back and forth like I am like easily. And so table tennis, there is a little bit of challenge in that aspect, but with pickleball, like you can hop onto the court and you can just play of all skill levels. That's why it's really important for us with pickleball. And so, yeah, I mean, as Gordon would mention, he was like employee 40 or 50 back in 2022 in November when he came in, and now we're at 350 people. But yeah, so like we're hiring good people, we're hiring great people, and yeah, we're not some conglomerate like Samsung, Google, like that's out to destroy pickleball. No, we're just guys that just and women that just enjoy pickleball and are trying to do the best. And yeah, and so like for us, like we read all the comments. Like we know we see all the memes. We love memes of pickleball.
Everybody in all the comments.
Like, literally, I mean, for me it's bad because like I read all the comments. But yeah, no, I mean, like we understand your frustrations. We hear you, and like we're taking the necessary steps to try to do the best that we can and improve upon it. Again, like we don't have the Power Rangers video anymore that you've seen, right? Like we were making Colin do that pose for sure, but yeah, like we're trying to elevate ourselves, right? We're trying to grow the brand, and yeah, it's not just the products anymore. And of course, quality and durability is a perfect part about it, but it's the whole experience that we're trying to build.
Gotcha. Yeah. So in that similar vein, right, talking about the quality. So you personally travel to China a lot to oversee the actual development of the products. How much of that is like discovery of what you guys could do next versus QCing what you guys are already working on?
Yeah, so that's kind of multifaceted, right? So Fabio, again, the biggest credit to him. He has so many ideas, great and also crazy. He's like the little mad scientist at JOOLA. So he has a lot of different ideas, and then like he writes them all out. We 3D print them, and then we file some patents on it, and we fly to China probably like once every 3 months, and we spend a lot of time there, lots of hours at the factory level, and so. We go in, we have a great relationship with our manufacturers, and we're on the line, like working things out. Like we're like, okay, let's cut this, or let's glue this, let's try this. Can we order this material? And we bring it all in, and we're testing these things out right then and there, which is something that's like great that I don't think a lot of any other companies are able to do.
Yeah.
And then once we have that, like once we understand the product, and of course sample making is fairly easier than when you're scaling for mass production.
Yeah.
So once we're able to do that and we're set on a certain type of product that we want to do, that's where we start stepping in and saying, how do we get this to manufacturability? So then we work with our manufacturers, and now we have Caleb now, who has a huge amount of experience coming from the swoosh.
Yeah.
And so now we're able to elevate ourselves, and then that's where the part where like we focus on the manufacturing process. So quality control, again, huge amount of volume, trying to scale up, which is why our QC hasn't always been the best, to be honest. But now what we're doing is, we're putting new processes in place at every single step. I recently learned about like different types of manufacturers, going down to the raw material level. And also we've hired an additional QA team as well.
Okay, yeah, and so did a lot of these changes come after the Gen 3 fiasco, or was that always sort of where you guys were heading?
Yeah, I mean, it is where we were heading. I think the big thing with Gen, so, I mean, I'll be honest, like the Gen 2, right, that's not me. I don't take credit for that because, again, just throwing it out there.
Yeah, throwing it out there, not my fault.
It's a compressed core. And so with the compressed core, I was looking at the data because like I was doing a lot of data, like driven decisions and stuff. We didn't see much data regarding like compression issues, right? We knew like delamination was a huge problem, but our paddles, we had a different manufacturing process that didn't happen with delamination. And so, and when it did happen, we like where the paddles were getting too hot, we thought it was delamination, not core crush or whatever. Right. And it was like a few cases here and there. So again, then I'll take responsibility, ownership on this. So I was like, oh, let's just do propulsion core with the compressed core, right? Of course, that whole thing kind of blew up and everything. So, but yeah, and then so with that, we realized, okay, after that, when you're making such huge volumes, we found an error or found an issue actually in our handles right before the Gen 3 launch. Had to rework everything. So honestly, it sucks because we've been rushing a lot, trying to get to market on time, and we don't have those things in place. But now we have more people, like more organized people than me for sure, to kind of help with road mapping and making sure that we're hitting deadlines properly. And so now we've always wanted to do QC and QA, but now we have the processes in place to do that at a better, to do a better job at it. And so we are tackling, for example, the Hyperion, our Gen 1. I know a lot of people market like, oh, I bought a Hyperion paddle and it broke, that's why I started a paddle company. We're addressing that issue right now too. So we're refreshing it, especially with our new brand, new logo and everything. We want to tackle all these things, of course, and it's gonna take some time to regain that trust, but hopefully you judge us by our actions, not our words. And so you guys can see what we can do.
For sure. And we're speaking a lot to what went wrong on y'all's end from a QC perspective and whatnot. That's not to ignore the role that governing bodies obviously had in what was going on. So tell me a little bit, and we've talked about this a little bit before, but tell me a little bit about what was going on
back when the original Gen 3 delisting happened, what was sort of going through everybody's minds at JOOLA?
Yeah, I think a lot of people didn't. So this is another thing that I've been trying to push forward on is like the transparency aspect, right? And the clarity and honesty aspect. So like for us, like even now when talking with the reviewers, we're trying to be as transparent as possible. It's same as within our company, right? Like we are a family, but like a lot of these things we didn't want to put stress and pressure on everyone else. And so like it was a lot of internal, like high level that we're like trying to handle it, right?
Yeah.
And so and then I remember like it happened, it blew up, and it was like an all hands call. This is the first time we did an all hands call.
Wow.
And Richard's like, so then we've been like talking with USAP a lot, and like we really want to work with them, right? Like on a lot of this stuff. And so like that's why we went to USAP Industry Day. That's why I have calls with Carl and John all the time. And so like when that happened, it was like, fuck. Like, like just fuck me. Like this sucks. Like, and then it was like, the thing is, it wasn't the aspect where it was like the core crushing aspect, because that was like an issue that started happening later on, like more towards the summertime. It was just this delisting stuff. It was like, how do we start navigating like this wild west of regulations and rules, things changing. It's why we are engaged in a lawsuits. And then of course we launched Mod TA15. And then, of course, it didn't help with PPL, to be honest.
Yeah.
God, PPL. That was frustrating for the first 6 months of 2024.
Yeah.
Because they changed their new deflection testing, right?
Yeah.
So, we had to start figuring out. Eventually, we did realize, okay, maybe compressed core is not the way to go. So that's why we went uncompressed core with the 3S. Again, if we were in bed with UPA, I would have our Gen 3s be certified, not the 3S.
Yeah.
Because that feeling, that plush feeling, it's amazing.
Yeah.
And so like that's how we kind of got to it. And then now, everything's PB Core 43 certified. We are UPA certified. And that's what we're trying to do everything that the best we can navigating this crazy times.
Yeah, for sure. Obviously, like working with both governing bodies is clearly a challenge right now. But there's a lot. I feel like and this happens with all media, right? Like the negative stories, the people who have negative experiences will always be louder than people who have positive experiences. So, from the outside looking in, it seems like there was a lot of issues with paddles core crushing within a couple of weeks. There was the issues, and there's the issues with the delisting as well. So do you feel that any changes that you guys have made between that production and production on the Pro 4s is going to be able to address the people that feel that way?
Yeah, and so I would say, I mean, again, I reiterate this, again, it's unhealthy for me to just look at all these comments, right?
Yeah.
But I mean, like, of the things that we're doing with the QA processes with the Pro 4, like honestly, I'm addressing it right now. Compression, we did compression. Probably the only company that will ever admit to doing compression on purpose, by design. And you know what? We'll own that. And moving forward, we're going away from compression, and we're putting QA processes in place to ensure that it doesn't happen during the thermoforming process. And like in the positive comments and feedback, right? So like the same thing that we heard. So like another big push that we're talking with the creative team is like the experience that the users get when they're buying a paddle comes in a bubble bag, right?
Yeah.
That's what everyone's used to. And so for us, when you're buying from our website now, it comes in a nice box, right? And so like we're trying to level up that experience, because like we heard you guys, like I saw like so many comments about like this $300 paddle came in a bubble bag, and I was like, like that's a fair statement. But that's why I was like, holy crap, like seeing those comments, like Howard on the Discord, like, I was like, he wrote that comment out, and I was like, oh my god, finally something good. So I like screenshot that, posted into like our like company chat, and like everyone saw it, and we're like finally, like at least we're making some like direction in the right step. And that's always good to have that, like it's always we want to improve on the negative aspects, but it's also good to look at some of the positive things as well. So shout out to Howard.
Yeah, dude, Howard, you made it. No, but yeah, that's really cool. So I think a lot of people are going to be happy to hear this kind of transparency. 2025 is going to be, I feel like, the year of transparency in pickleball. It not only has to happen on the company side, it also has to happen, on the governing body side. I want to hear. I asked Richard about this before. I want to hear your perspective on how much you feel that the innovation that you can do, or that you will do on your paddle's performance, how much of that is influenced by trying to follow these sort of rotating goalposts that governing bodies are setting versus actually wanting to address better performance of the paddle?
Yeah. Oh, that's a tricky question.
Yeah.
Because there is a fine line, right? There's a fine line, like kind of like Icarus. You get too close to the sun, you burn your wings.
Yeah.
So with performance, we always want to make the best paddles. We always take feedback from the pros. Bobby and I, we hit paddles all the time to try to understand, what is that best feeling. So of course, when innovating, honestly, I feel that we push the boundary too much with the Gen 3s. And so now we're at a good place in terms of power. And so can we innovate on the other aspects? So like, even with the marketing aspect where like we have a little small window now, like those kinds of cool things, the little bit features are some things that we're thinking about. Mm-hmm. But then we're going back to the question about governing bodies and regulations and certifications. It's why we're asking all these questions to them, right? Like, yeah, like we play too close to the sun, right? With Gen 3s, and I've seen some comments about like literally Gearbox and JOOLA are the ones, like, why are they talking about break-in when their paddles are the ones that break in the most? That's fair, but honestly, right now, it's like, for me, it's like, I don't want anyone to deal with the same bullshit that we've had to deal with.
Yeah.
Like, it is so stressful, it sucks. Like, yes, we are all competitors as companies, but at the end of the day, like, I met so many great guys from other different companies, and like, they all share the same sentiment that like we all like love the sport. We want to grow the sport. Competition is great. So like, for us, like, yeah, I feel sorry for Chorus right now. Like, Matt, like that sucks. And like,
yeah,
honestly, there's a lot of good things that a lot of people are doing. And so that's why it's like, because we do have a good position with our brand, like, people do listen to us still, hopefully. And so that's why, yeah, like, we do have these talks with USAP. We do have these talks with Jason Aspes, and we just want a clear timeline and roadmap. And like, I mean, Gordon he's explained this so many times, and I think Richard explains this as well. Like with table tennis, it took 3 years to change the size of the ball. Right? They proposed the ball, so like, one, it was celluloid, which was like very flammable, so they changed the ABS, and then they also increased the size from 38 to 40, and then 40 plus. That took 3 years to transition that change, and even by the third year, like, a lot of companies were still scrambling, trying to figure it out. So like, huge changes and regulations that happen should take time. Now, of course, like, yes, there's people that will be close to breaking the rules or pushing the limits and boundaries. And that's where like you work closely with these governing bodies, working as a collective to do those kinds of things.
Yeah, exactly. And it's interesting how just from the rules perspective, like there seems to be written rules and unwritten rules with both governing bodies, and that just can't be. You can't do that, right? And so is that aspect, like the way that the body, well, I guess the lawsuit here is specifically USAP, right? The way that they implemented those rules and the way that they conducted the Gen 3 delisting, is that sort of the basis of why JOOLA felt that litigation was needed?
Yeah, I think that's, I'll be honest with you, that's one of the biggest reasons why. It's like, your rules are not clearly well defined at the moment, so can you just work with us? We're trying to come up with a solution, and then they're like, nope, that's fine, it's whatever, and then boom, like, it was just like, we've been trying to reach out to you, and same with this whole like mod TA thing, like, we've been trying to communicate like with USAP very closely on it.
Yeah.
Honestly, it's why, like, even now, like the Hyperion, Scorpius, and Magnus, they're shipping out at a later date, and that's because like we paid for expedited back in December. We didn't hear anything. Like, expedited is supposed to take 2 weeks, right? And then like, there's no announcement that like they stopped expedited testing, And then I literally, and like thing is, the problem with the expedited testing with similarity tests, it's like you need your first paddle to pass, and then you can do a similarity test and submit it compared to the first original paddle. So it's like we're waiting, and then they say no more expedited, and it's like not even an announcement. It was like we're just checking the website to submit the paddle, and it says expedited is removed. It was like for us, it's like you can do these things, but just communicate. That's the biggest thing for us.
Gotcha. Yeah, and yeah, it's why it all comes down to transparency. Transparency is the name of the game for sure. But as you know, as we're overlooking the 2 courts here, got a bunch of people playing with the new Pro 4s, of course. So let's delve into that a little bit. A lot of people are probably going to look at dissections and the sort of mock-up of the paddle and feel like not a lot has changed.
Yep.
So tell me, let's talk about the one most obvious change, which is TFP, right? So explain a little bit more about what you guys felt like TFP actually offers to the performance of the paddle.
Yeah, so TFP, also known as Tech Flex Power, it's that filler material, a higher density at the throat. It's within the frame and the edge guard, so it's not inside the actual core portion. And so basically what it does is it enhances the flexibility of the paddle. So a lot of more forgiveness on mishits. And also like the way it feels. So the best way that I can put it is like, we have the 3S in terms of the power, it feels a little bit stiff. And then you have the Mod TA15, that plush dwell time, that feeling that you get from it is fantastic. But that's coming from a little bit from the compression.
Yeah.
So how do we get that feeling again without compressing the core again? So that's kind of like the blend of the two. So like yes, the power is still there. It's not like as powerful as the mod, but it's still at that level in terms of the 3S. The feeling feels great. More forgiveness, of course. Vibration dampening a little bit. It's more on that ball hitting feel, which is why we haven't done a floating core. It's because we still want that feedback coming through when you're striking the ball into the handle. That's really important for like Ben and important for a lot of our other players as well. And then, of course, it is heavier. So the static weight is much more heavier than the 3S. But because we put it strategically at the throat, the balance point is a little bit lower, and the swing weight is still about the same as the 3S.
Gotcha. Yeah. So that was gonna be my next question: is had you guys given any thought to just going full floating core? It seemed like, because with adding the foam in there, it's like almost there, but not quite. But that makes a lot of sense, though, that like, there are paddles out there where, especially when you're using as dense foam as you guys appear to be using on the TFP, you will definitely lose that ball feedback and response there into the handle. So that makes a ton of sense. Is the core, is it attached to the actual foam in the throat or not?
You mean the honeycomb core?
Yes.
To the it's split between the frame.
Okay, cool. Yeah, no, that makes sense. I think one of the most immediate things off the first few initial hits that you take with these, they still have that power that we're used to seeing from the most recent drops, but you definitely do have that little bit more. You have that little bit more forgiveness down towards the throat side, where a lot of paddles are super susceptible to those miss hits. Is that because I also notice on the entry level line for the Agassi and Steffi Graf paddles, you guys only thermoform the throat. So there seems to be a lot of emphasis in your guys' design on improving sort of forgiveness at that throat area. Is that intentional?
Yeah, so it is intentional because we do realize the throat is where the paddle also flexes. It's also a breaking point for the paddle as well. So even with the Agassi Edge, we do have the SK film, which goes across and provides stability across the entire paddle surface.
Yeah.
But additional stability is very important at the throat area, where you do get that flexibility is so important for the sweet spot and enhancements. Well, technically the sweet spot isn't bigger, but it makes the sweet spot feel bigger. And so that's the biggest part about it. Yeah.
Gotcha. Yeah. No, that's it exactly. So I remember being told this a long time ago that like if you look super closely, like if you could slow down like a paddle impact really, really slowly, you would notice that a lot of paddles do like some small twisting at the throat area. So ultimately that sort of flexibility, how you reinforce it, whether or not you do that, is what can impact that feeling of the sweet spot. So it's cool that you guys are addressing that. But also, and going on a slight tangent on the SK film on the market paddles. So what is the difference between doing that and doing a lot of companies using fiberglass just for better adhesion of the face sheets to the core, right? What is the difference between this material and then something like that?
Yeah, so I mean, usually with fiberglass, what they're doing is they're doing multi-layers of the surface material. So it's usually like carbon fiber, fiberglass, carbon fiber, or fiberglass, two layers of carbon fiber. And so usually it's always 3 layers. Sometimes you can go 4. It gets a little bit heavier though. We are playing around with fiberglass, but with the SK film, it's because we have 3 layers of carbon fiber for the Agassi edge paddles. This sheet, like the way that it works, it's used in a different industry also for vibration dampening as well. And so it's kind of like it's an adhesion. It's a better adhesion to the honeycomb core and the surface.
Okay, gotcha. Yeah, so it's sort of like taking it a step further. So beyond fiberglass, just providing that better adhesion, it also provides that vibration dampening aspect as well.
Yeah.
Okay, that's sick. And so, like, staying on the topic of Agassi, I mean, what a pickup for you guys, right? And what's it like? So you were telling me like the shape that we ended up settling on for the Agassi paddle, he just liked it. Like he just liked how it felt and played. What were some like other like types of shapes that you guys messed around with him, and why do you think he ultimately settled on that one?
Yeah, so the biggest thing was, so we asked Andre what he likes, and we also asked Steph what she likes in terms of coming from tennis to pickleball. And so they gave feedback on like, you know, what they would like. And so we probably created like 6-7 different shape designs. And you know, they're all kind of funky looking, to be honest, because we wanted to be a little bit unique.
Yeah.
But they always had the curved top, no matter what, coming from tennis. And then of course, like the throat shape, it was actually, some of the options are very similar to like the Perseus, Scorpius, and Magnus, where they're kind of like tapered off like this, instead of like fat corner kind of in a way.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, like we you know, got those different shapes, let Andre and Steph try it out, and then eventually they were like, they liked the shape the best. And then I remember coming here actually for the Agassi photo shoot, asking him, I was like, what do you like about this paddle? Just talking with him, and he was like talking about all these things, like he's the top 25% where he's hitting it, and I was like, oh, so I'm glad this paddle works for him. But then also like there's like innovation that we're bringing with the shape. Like, yeah, I know it's funky looking sometimes when you first look at it.
Yeah.
But like that curved top at the top coming from tennis, near the throat, it's a little bit wider because like coming from pickleball, you want a larger sweet spot. Twist weight, you want it to be higher, and also when you're dinking, right?
Yeah.
So it's like more emphasis on the throat area.
Okay, gotcha. Yeah, and you know that makes a ton of sense. It's like no funky shape comes out. I'm watching people mess around with it. It's just it'll always look funky, but you know if it works, it works. And you know I'll admit I was a skeptic. I was a major skeptic seeing the shape, and then I hit it, and I'm like, you know what, this could work.
This could work. Yeah, I hope so.
This could work. Yeah, no, it's really. It's so cool to see a guy like Agassi just like jumping in head first, like wanting to be hands-on with the actual paddle production process.
Yep.
But yeah, no. So and speaking a little bit more on that, like, what do you think? What do you think that Agassi, so obviously he can offer a lot in terms of his name and his image to JOOLA. Do you think that there is even more that he could offer in terms of the types of products that you guys are designing moving forward?
Yeah, I mean, we're designing some products that are specifically under the Agassi brand. It's not just about paddle sales, as Kevin said in his presentation.
Yeah.
It's also what Agassi said as well. For him, it's about growing the sport of pickleball. So everything that we're doing, it's very calculated. We get his feedback, we get Steph's feedback on products that we want to launch. So like, of course, we can make like Agassi, pickleball plushie or something like that, which it just doesn't make sense for the sport, right? So like, everything has to be calculated. There is more exciting stuff that's coming out, but for the most part, for him, it's growing the sport of pickleball. Like if you just talk with him, he loves the sport. He nerds out about the sport too. Yeah, which is great to hear. So
yeah, no, absolutely. I feel like he's almost going to be like that connection point for tennis people who are skeptical about pickleball. So many tennis people have so much hate towards pickleball, but
I was one of them.
Yeah, exactly. And then here you are. And then hopefully like Agassi is going to bring more people who make that kind of transition, which would be really nice. But yeah, I think that really hits a lot of the points that I really wanted to touch on here about the paddle construction here and whatnot. So tell me, last thing, so you guys perform sort of your own level of, we'll call it destruction testing. You guys perform ball hits on the paddles and whatnot. When performing those tests, did you guys have any instances of failure across your paddles? And then when you did, was that sort of earlier on in the process so that changes could be made? Or was that sort of just like, it was at a rate that you felt comfortable, like still bringing that to market?
Yeah, so we introduced a new test, like destructive testing, I guess, on our paddles, and like a lot of wear tests, tear tests, a lot of different things. And so we have a full guideline now, which we didn't really implement before the Pro 4.
Yeah.
First iterations, it failed, for sure.
No.
Shooting the ball like 600 times, edge guard coming off. Oh crap, okay, let's visit what is the actual cause and root cause of this. Is it the gluing process? Is it the material of the edge guard? Is it what's happening at the paddle? Like we don't know all these different things. So a lot of testing, a lot of failed prototypes. As you saw, like our office, right? There's a ton of paddles, but like you should see our office in China. It's oh man, it's a ton more paddles for that. And for testing, it's not just one paddle and it passes, we're done and good, right? It's not like that. So we do full runs, full testings. If there's a certain percentage that starts failing we're like, oh, holy crap, like we have to go back to the drawing board. So there is a certain level that we are doing now. And honestly, it's because of all the stuff that's happened in the past. We're always trying to improve and get better at that. So
Gotcha. Yeah, no, that's good because it's always good to like, it's always well and good to do the actual testing. It's a different story to do the testing and then, people have different levels, I guess, and it comes down to ethics, right? Of how comfortable is a company with 30% failure rate, 40% failure rate, 20%, et cetera. So it's good to know that you guys are testing and actively sort of seeking that root cause before actually, moving forward in the process. So that's really great. Well, Austin, the last thing I want to ask you, so you've, outside of all of this world of pickleball, you do have your girlfriend, Catherine, who I met. She's lovely. You have your 2 cats and your dog, Terry, right? Tell me a little bit about how they've been able to support you outside of this, massive world of, this sometimes messed up world of pickleball.
Yeah, I have to shout out, of course, my girlfriend, Catherine. She is a big support in my life. Also very smart. I would say she is smarter than me, unfortunately. So a lot of stuff that I deal with at work, she's really high up at another company. So she has a lot more experiences in like a managerial position as well and handles stress. And she also loves to work as well. But she's been able to support me so much. For me, like understanding and growing as a person, especially coming in like from video games back to corporate life, try to handle all of that. So she's been very helpful. The dog, the 2 cats, lovely. We rescued Somi, our dog from Korea. She was like a kind of like a kill dog, essentially.
Oh, wow, interesting.
So I got her, love her to death, even though she hates men. And then, of course, we got our 2 cats, also very stoic and handsome, and they're wonderful. And honestly, yeah, and like it's been great. You know, my family has been very supportive with me all the way. So honestly, the worst part about it is that pickleball is still 90% of my life right now. And
Yeah.
So, but I am glad that Catherine is starting to play pickleball as well now.
Oh,
also
that's awesome.
Also a tennis snob.
Yeah.
You know, she still says, "Oh, I love tennis better," but you know, I've been getting her to play a little bit more. So
Yeah.
it's important. But but I'll send you some photos of our cat and dog.
Yeah.
And then you can put it up in the video.
Yeah,
So,
I will.
but,
I will for sure. Because I learned about that, and I mean, I have a little dog at home, Maya, and I love her to death. So like, it's just nice to have like having like that connection.
Yeah.
Just like with your pet as well. It's just like nice little outside of pickleball, right? Yeah, that's awesome. All right, well, let's go ahead and continue enjoying this Vegas weather here. You probably have more interviews to do. I'm going to go enjoy this Vegas weather.
Yeah.
Get a little bit more playtime on these. But listen, Austin, it was a pleasure.
No,
Thanks so
thank
much
you.
again for organizing everything, having us out here.
And make sure to like, comment, subscribe, and watch all his ads. So he can make this a living.